smell bullshit.
Hey everybody, welcome to Studio 64. My name's David and I've been searching the interzones for some more science, space and tech news to share with you. And I came across this at Ars Technica. Yes, this should be interesting. I don't recall Windows. Sounds like a politician up before some sort of ethics committee, doesn't it? I don't recall. Windows recall demands an extraordinary level of trust that Microsoft hasn't earned. Yes, exactly. Yes, this is an opinion editorial piece. The risks to recall are way too high for security to be secondary. I agree 150%. They keep telling us that with recall, it's stored on your local hard drive. But Windows 11 is so tied in to not only artificial intelligence, right, but it's also tied into the internet. How do we know that these snapshots that it's taking every 2 seconds or however long it is, every couple of minutes, of your system is not being pushed up to the cloud somehow? Interesting. Now, Microsoft 11, Windows 11 Copilot Plus PCs come with a few new AI and machine learning driven features, but the tentpole is recall. Described by Microsoft as a comprehensive record of everything you do on your PC, the feature is pitched as a way to help users remember where they've been and provide Windows extra contextual information that can help it better understand requests from and meet the needs of individual users. Sounds good, except it's also tied in with your user license agreement, which the ULA, which no one ever reads. So if you decide to and it's all tied in with your Office subscription. So if you decide to break Microsoft's terms and conditions by thinking wrong-think and typing something into your word processor, they can shut down your access to your PC by saying you violated our community services or terms and conditions of using a Microsoft product. So you can't even type something into a word processor with these machines. And people go, well, David, these machines are going to be, 12 months or however long ago they're going to be away. But yeah, you're going to have to buy a new PC eventually. These Copilot Plus PCs, because Microsoft's eventually going to stick Windows 11 with so much code bloat with Windows updates, you're going to have to say, oh, I've got to buy a new computer. It's completely crazy. And people saying, well, I'm sticking to Windows 10. Yes, but only till October 2025 when Microsoft discontinues support. You see what I'm trying to say? This is why I've gone to Linux. I use AI, but AI doesn't use me. That's the difference. It's a tool. I can use the word processor on Linux. It's compatible with Office. And the AI isn't going and checking every single damn thing I'm doing to make sure it's not 1984 George Orwell double think or wrong think or something. It's insane. Now this, as many users in InfoSec communities on social media, that's information security, for those that don't know, immediately pointed out, sounds like a potential security nightmare. That's doubly true because Microsoft says that by default, recall screenshots take no pains to redact sensitive information from usernames and passwords to healthcare information to not suitable for worksite visits. By default, on a PC with 256 gig of storage, recall can store a couple of dozen gigabytes of data across 3 months of PC usage, a huge amount of personal data. What happens if you lose your PC? What if it's stolen? Interesting. Now, the line between potential security nightmare and actual security nightmare is at least partly about the implementation. And Microsoft has been saying that there are at least saying things that are at least superficially reassuring. And I'll leave the link to the main article below the video so you can pop in and check out these embedded links like this orange one here in the middle of the screen, so you can go for a bit of a deeper dive behind the main article. It makes for an interesting read. Now, Copilot Plus PCs are required to have a fast neural processing unit, or NPU, so that processing can be performed locally rather than sending data to the cloud. Now, local snapshots are protected at rest by Windows disk encryption technologies, which are generally on by default if you've signed into a Microsoft account. Neither Microsoft nor other users on the PC are supposed to be able to access any particular user's recall snapshots. Bullshit. And users can choose to exclude apps or, in most browsers, individual websites to exclude from recalls snapshots. Yeah, it's just like with Windows 10 and I believe 11, when you're installing it, there's a whole lot of telemetry that Microsoft makes out that's really cool because we're customizing your user experience to make it easier for you. Excuse me. Stop using the force to say that I've got to, using the force on me to tell me my mind's weak and I'm just going to follow this crap. Installing Windows 10, there's all this telemetry that you've got to shut off. How many times has people been sitting there and asking me a question and going, David, why is my PC so slow? It's telling me I've got 100% CPU usage, but I haven't even got Notepad up or calculator. What's going on? Telemetry is being set back to Microsoft. It's anonymous, apparently. Yeah, in theory. But this is the same thing that's going to happen with your with this recall. It's off by default. People are going to switch it on. People are going to, well, you check the box, David, to switch it on. It's your fault they're getting all your information. No, I don't like this. This isn't right. And I'm agreeing here with this. It's just it can be a potential security nightmare. Can you imagine if a government organisation puts it on? I doubt if they'd have it on and be allowed to have it on. But if they did and the laptop got stolen, or as usually what happens is it's auctioned off at the end of its life, working life, after it's only 12 months old, somebody picks it up at an auction and the hard drive isn't formatted? Like, come on. This all sounds good in theory, but some users are beginning to use recall now that the Windows 11 24H2 update is available in preview form and the actual implementation has serious problems. Yes, fundamentally breaks the promise of security in Windows. Why am I not surprised? Now, this is recall, as seen on a PC running in a preview build of a Windows 11 24H2. It takes and saves periodic screenshots, which can then be searched for and viewed in various ways. Yeah, so that's a bit of an idea for you. And I won't have it anywhere near my fat, hairy bottom. Microsoft, you can get stuffed. Right? I mean, that's just, no. I don't like it, and I'm not using it. I mean, I've got open source software, cross-platform software that I can use on Windows, Mac, or PC. Sorry, Windows, Mac, or Linux. Yeah, good on you, David. That's the way. Windows, Mac, or Linux. And everything's file compatible. So why the hell would I want to use Windows for? Fascinating. I said if I was a gamer, I would seriously be looking at buying a console and not playing games on my PC. Security researcher Kevin Beaumont, first in a thread on Mastodon, and later in a more detailed blog post, has written about some of the potential implementation issues after enabling recall on an unsupported system, which currently is the only way to try recall since the Copilot PCs that officially support the feature won't ship until later this month. We've also given this early version of recall a try on a Windows Dev Kit 2023, which we've used for all our recent Windows on ARM testing. Now, we've independently verified Beaumont's claims about how easy it is to find and view raw recall data once you have access to a user's PC. Now, Microsoft claims they don't have access to your data. It's on your local hard drive. Oh, I'm sure they do. And I'm sure a lot of this data will end up going up to your cloud. I wonder how long it is before Microsoft gives the default amount of free space on their cloud service that comes with Windows massively increases. Aren't we generous? I wonder why. Yeah, to test recall yourself, developer and Windows enthusiast Albacore has published a tool called Amperage Kit that will enable it on most ARM-based Windows PCs running Windows 11 24H2 build 26100.712. The build currently available in the Windows Insider Preview Release channel. Other Windows 11 24H2 versions are missing the underlying code necessary to enable recall. Yes, Windows uses OCR, optical character recognition, on all the text in all the screenshot it takes. The text is also saved to an SQLite database to facilitate faster searches. Right. Yes. Now are people starting to get a little bit nervous? I'm beyond nervous. Now, searching for iCloud, for example, brings up every single screenshot with the word iCloud in it, including the app itself and its entry in the Microsoft Store. If I had visited websites that mentioned it, they would show up here too. I would say keep this switched off and use a pad and a pen. Seriously. Fascinating. Now, the short version is this. In its current form, Recall takes screenshots and uses OCR to grab the information on your screen. It then writes the contents of Windows plus records of different user interactions in a locally stored SQLite database to track your activity. Data is stored on a per-app basis, presumably to make it easier for Microsoft's app exclusion feature to work. Beaumont says several days of data amounted to a database of around 90K in size. In our usage, screenshots taken by Recall on a PC with a 2560x1440 screen came in at 500K or 600K apiece. Recall saves screenshots at your PC's native resolution minus the taskbar area. Yeah, and that is very, very interesting. As I say, I just don't like it. Oh, it's only a small amount, as I said. How long? Is this stuff backed up to the cloud? Can anyone tell me in the comments? I don't believe it is. I believe it's all locally, but how long before it starts? Bing! Fascinating. Recall only works locally, thanks to Azure AI code that runs on your device. Yes. For how long, though? And it works without internet connectivity and without a Microsoft account. Data is encrypted at rest, sort of, at least insofar as your entire drive is generally encrypted when your PC is either signed into a Microsoft account, or has BitLocker turned on. But in its current form, Beaumont says Recall has gaps you can drive a plane through. Oh, I'm just leaving the Microsoft Flight Simulator and certain Twin Towers in New York alone. That may make it trivially easy to grab and scan through a user's Recall database if you either, one, have local access to the machine and can log on to any account, not just the account of the user whose database you're trying to see, or two, are using a PC infected with some kind of info stealer virus that can quickly transfer the SQLite database to another system. This will be interesting. Accessing another user's Recall data from another admin account on the same PC. This UAC prompt is the only thing keeping me out, and it's easily dismissed. Once I access the folder, I can see every single screenshot, plus the SQL database with all the OCR data in it. Won't be long before some hacker will be able to do this, but it's only if they can access an administrator. Oh, come on. Come on. You currently do not have permission to access this as folder continue. Don't tell me some hacker can't get access to your desktop, and the next thing you know, your little bloody mouse point is moving around all over the screen. They get hold of this. The next thing, they got everything. Yeah. Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Yes, Beaumont says admin access to the system isn't required to read another user's Recall database. Another user with an admin account can easily grab any other user's Recall database and all the Recall screenshots by clicking through a simple UAC prompt. The SQLite database is stored in plain text, and the data in transit isn't encrypted either, making it trivially easy to access both the stored database of past activity and to monitor new entries as Recall makes them. Screenshots are stored without file extension, but they're regular old image files that can easily be opened and viewed in any web browser or image editor. Oh boy. The other big problem is that because recall is on by default and you have to manually exclude specific apps or websites from being scraped by it, the SQLite database will keep records of activities that are explicitly meant to be hidden or temporary. That includes viewing pages incognito mode in some browsers, emails or messages that you delete from your device, and files that you edit or delete. Beaumont says he's holding off on publishing some details to give Microsoft time to do something about the feature as it is currently implemented, but he has pointed to efforts like this total recall script as an example of how quickly and easily recall data can be stolen and researched. Yes, good old total recall. Do yourself a favour and watch the 1990 version with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It'll blow you away. Excuse me. Yes. Oh boy. And what's this one? Recall does give some users control over what it does. Apps and websites can be excluded. Recent data can be deleted without clearing the entire database, and the feature can be switched off entirely, but the default settings will capture a huge amount of user data. Fascinating. What about this one? The interface for excluding apps from recall scraping. No, thank you. What about this one? Choose a website. Filtering sites is done by entering URLs. Most people wouldn't know how to do this. Most people won't do it. Therefore, they'll leave it on, thinking they trust Microsoft. O ye of little faith. David, I can't. I've been working with Microsoft for too long, ever since the mid-80s, and Windows 1.1 or something, no thank you. I finally had enough and I had to move to Linux. There are mitigating factors here. Recall will begin by shipping on just a handful of new Windows 11 systems. It can be turned off entirely if you don't want to use it. Bullshit. It'll switch itself back on again, and the controls to disable recall snapshots for certain apps or sites theoretically gives users enough control they can use recall as intended without storing sensitive information in the database. As I say, most people won't switch it off because they trust Microsoft, or they won't know how to switch it off. It'll be too complicated for them. You know what people are like these days, they couldn't be bothered. But given the sheer amount of data that recall scrapes, the minimal safeguards Microsoft has put in place to protect that database once a malicious user has access to your PC, and the fact that many PC users never touch the default settings, the risk to user data seems far higher than the potential benefits of this feature. It's like the settings I was telling you for telemetry data. People leave them on. Their PC goes to 100% CPU usage. Oh, they just leave it for a while until it drops off. They're not going to switch it off? No. Right, okay. So if it starts becoming too bad and the telemetry data slows your machine down to the point where you couldn't use it, what do? I'll just buy another computer. Oh, for God's sake. And this is what's going to happen here. Is this going to slow your system down any? Is this going to make your system, almost useless? Well, in that case, if it slows it down too much, I better buy another computer. Oh, for God's sake. I think you get my point. Microsoft has struggled with security and privacy in its products. Not even a month ago, CEO Satya Nadella pledged to make security the most important thing at the company, following multiple high-profile data breaches and poorly handled information disclosures. Yes, executive pay is being tied in part to security. Rank-and-file employees are told to do security even when faced with the trade-off between security and another priority, Nadella said. To launch recall with such obviously exploitable security holes flies in the face of that directive. Well, of course it damn well would. Yes, Microsoft is hard to trust right now. What do you mean right now? I haven't trusted them for 40 years. It's insane. There we go. Taskbar on the PC. Open recall. Pause until tomorrow. How about just being able to get rid of it completely? Microsoft is hard to trust right now. You think? I haven't been able to trust them for 40 years. not since the mid-80s. It's ridiculous. Even if recall were locked down better, another problem is that Windows 11 has eroded its users' trust and patience over time by endlessly pushing other Microsoft products and services and refusing to respect user choices once they've been made. The company frequently finds new places to put ads. A clean install of the operating system comes with unasked for third-party apps and ongoing notifications about other Microsoft services. The Bing chat feature and then Copilot were rolled out quickly to the entire user base, despite being preview products prone to problems. Yeah, it's absolutely annoying. You know, like you're worried about issues like this and getting the new product out, but solve the problems with Windows 11 first. It's been out since November 2021. And one of the reasons I stopped using it was because I kept having nothing but video card issues with it. It's completely ridiculous. You know, the video would be choppy, it would break up, it would do all these weird things, and then you get another update that would fix that problem, and then something else would go out the damn window. You know, if it's 6 months old, you stick with Windows 10 and you give Windows a break, right? But what is it? It's been, 3 years now? That's insane. Was it the end of 21 or 2022? Whatever it is, it's been years, and you've still got problems with it. Now, that's ridiculous. 6 months, I'd get it. But years? None of this is directly related to recall, but it demonstrates Microsoft's willingness to put revenue squeezing ahead of the user experience. And that makes me inherently skeptical of Windows AI features in general and recall in particular. A huge searchable database of PC activity would be a holy grail for advertisers. Yeah, that's one thing I didn't think about. They could go through your stuff, and the next thing you're being bombarded with products you think, where did they get that from? And given how willing Microsoft has been to muck up Windows 11 and probably sell your stuff, your information too, allegedly, Windows 11 in the last 2.5 years, it's hard for me to trust that the company will stay committed to keeping data collected by recall completely private. I agree with that 100%. You know, unbelievable. Now, recall isn't finalised. It won't be available in the vast majority of Windows PCs. Even once Copilot PCs from Intel and AMD hit the market, it will take at least a year or two for compatible NPUs to show up in mid-range and low-end PCs. And for those who truly hate it, will be able to turn it off, in theory. How many times has there been a glitch in Microsoft? I've come back and thought, I switched that off. It switched itself back on again. Sorry, that's not a bug. It's a feature. Yeah. Those who truly hate it will be able to turn it off, though the list of at least you can uninstall and turn it off things in Windows 11 is getting frustratingly long. Long? Dear Lord. Longer than the time it takes for me to stand up and walk across the bloody room. Jesus Christ. We've also contacted Microsoft to ask about these concerns and whether the version of recall that you can test on an ARM PC right now is the same one that end users will get on Copilot PCs. As of writing this, the company hasn't responded. Yeah, there's also a thing too where it goes, oh, but it's going to be a year or two, David. It's going to be a year or two. Yeah, where are we? Yeah, it's going to be at least a year or two for compatible NPUs to show up. Perfect coincidental timing for Microsoft to finish supporting Windows 10. I'm sorry, we no longer give updates for that anymore. Fascinating. But let's put it this way. Microsoft is building a feature into Windows that is monitoring and logging a ton of data about you and the way you use your PC. Traditionally, we'd call this spyware, but the difference is that Microsoft is giving this particular data collection feature its blessing and advertising it as a banner feature in its upcoming wave of Copilot PCs. Yeah. When Microsoft does it, it's not called spyware. It's kind of like if you were to buy YouTube views and not nice and very bad. And Google and YouTube don't like it. But if you were to use Google's AdSense and create an ad campaign through YouTube, that would be called marketing. Oh, I see. So if I use Google's AdSense to market my YouTube videos, that's marketing. But if I use a third party, that's called cheating and dishonest. I got it. kind of like when Microsoft does this with recall, it's called a feature. But if another third party came along and was doing it, it'd be called spyware and a security issue. Okay, yeah, got it. Right, cool. All right. Yes. Now, the fact that the data is processed locally rather than in the cloud is a good first step, but it's also a bare minimum based on both the permissive default settings and the ease at which data can be accessed. Recall security safeguards as they currently exist aren't good enough. If Microsoft really does intend for everyone at the company to do security, it needs to put these concerns ahead of its apparently all-consuming drive to insert generative AI features, and also advertising, into every single one of its products. Improving recall before it becomes generally available needs to take priority, even if it delays the launch. And that's Andrew Cunningham from Ars Technica. Yeah, I agree with this bit here. Where is it? Recall safety aren't so good enough. If Microsoft does intend at the company to do security, it needs to put these concerns apparently of its all-consuming drive. Yeah, that's the problem. It's like, oh no, we think security is extremely important. Well, but you're also bypassing security at the same time. But for God's sake, don't dare question it. You know, it permeates every part of your system. As I said, your spreadsheets will be part of this, your word processing, your surfing the net, your Zoom calls. Now, does this mean that a Zoom call that's recorded on your PC under Windows 11 with recall running is going to be taking snapshots every few seconds to the other people in that Zoom call? Have they given permission for all this to happen? Interesting, isn't it? All right, well, my name is David. Thanks for joining me for another Studio 64 Science, Space and Tech News update. I shall see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you're up for it, drop a comment down below the video because I'd love to hear what you think. All right, take care. And as I always say, if you can't be good at it. And as I also always say...
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?